Hey, if you want an inside look as to how I prepared for and passed the NCLEX PN in the first try, then keep watching this video. Hey, this is Thomas from nursemoneytalk.com, and in this video, like I already said, I want to give you just kind of like the lowdown on what I did, just kind of like the steps, if you will, that I followed that helped me pass the NCLEX PN. Now, I will mention a couple of things before I get started. Number one is that if you haven't already subscribed, then please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, especially if you find this video helpful, because it really will help us kind of be able to get out there in the YouTube algorithm and help other nursing students like yourself. The second thing as well that I will mention is that, like everything else, this is not a guaranteed way to pass the NCLEX. To be honest, I'm not even claiming this is the right or the best way to even go about passing the NCLEX, and I'm sure plenty of people will tell me that this is not the best way to pass it. But either way, I do want to kind of share a little bit what my experience was, some of it being unique to most of you out there, and hopefully that might help or inspire some of you out there. The third thing I want to mention is that when I took the NCLEX PN, I actually took it in the middle of nursing school. Like I've already explained in one of my other videos, in some states, nursing students in an RN program may actually be eligible to actually apply for and get, if you will, special permission to actually take the NCLEX PN. So in other words, you could potentially get licensed as an LPN while you're going through RN school. I have talked about this a little bit in another video, and I'll link to it above. And so that's what kind of makes my experience a little bit unique than some of you guys out there. But as for what I did to pass the NCLEX, the first thing you might be wondering is how many questions did it take me to pass the NCLEX? And to be 100% honest with you, I don't remember. I honestly think too many nursing students put way too much emphasis on that. Oh, I gotta pass in. Actually, I think, what is it, like in the NCLEX LPN, so it's a minimum of 85 questions and a max of 205 questions. Okay, so you might be like, too many students will put that too much emphasis on, like, oh, I gotta pass the NCLEX, the NCLEX in 85 questions. Like, it has to be 85 questions. And if you're in the RN route, you'll say I gotta pass in 75 questions. And to me, that puts way too much emphasis on that number of questions, because to me, like, that puts a lot of pressure on yourself. So let's say, it's 85 questions. You start taking it, and then 84. Okay, so I got one more, 85. And so you click that submit button, and then it jumps to 86. Now what? You all of a sudden start kind of getting a little bit of anxiety, like, oh, I didn't do good enough. So you kind of start self-working yourself up. For no real reason, because the thing about it is, like, even if it's shut off at 85 questions, you can still pass or fail at 85. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And that's what I would say is one of the first things that I did, is that I had the mindset on, I need to get in there, and I'm just gonna take one question at a time. So take it one at a time, and then whatever happens, happens. Because once you hit that submit, you can't go back. It's all about going forward. So once I submit that question, I'm moving forward to that next question. And that's just kind of like what I had to train myself, was the goal was to pass, not necessarily in 85 questions, 90 questions, or whatever the case is. I think I did, I know it wasn't the minimum questions. Like, I can tell you that much. I know it was more than the minimum questions, and it wasn't the max amount either. So somewhere along that line. The second thing I did was really trying to figure out what was the NCLEX going to be about. I feel like nowadays there's so many videos of whether it's me or some other YouTubers out there who can sit and really share their experiences about what the test is like and blah, blah, blah. I mean, so it's a lot easier, I feel like, now than whenever I took the test to really kind of get a feel for what the exam will be like. But at the same time, really not focusing that much on what other people's experiences are like, because at the same time, those people's experiences and my experiences will probably differ a bit on that, but really trying to get a feel for what the atmosphere or what to expect. So you can also look at this as like the test format, especially the test format. Like, it really shouldn't be a surprise to you what the format of the test is gonna be for the NCLEX when you walk in there. The third thing I really looked at is, and for me, it was really trying to gather what materials or study aids I was going to use to really focus in my studying for the NCLEX. I'll see like some students who will try to use their nursing school textbooks to study for the NCLEX. For me personally, I wouldn't do that. Like, those textbooks are, to me, very, like, they're thick. They give you way too many details at times for trying to look up very simple answers. And at times, because they give a lot of fluffy details in there, it can be really hard to find the answers to specific questions that you need. So what I would do is like really focus on finding study materials that are specifically geared towards passing the NCLEX PN. And so that was one of the things that I ended up doing, is that I bought some study materials. And as an FYI, like, I will put a link in the descriptions below to some of those study materials as well, the ones I found kind of helpful when, that I looked through as well, or ones that I know some classmates or some other students have looked at as well and found helpful. So you can get that in the description below. You can also go to nursemoneytalk.com/NCLEX to kind of get sent to where you'll find like the entire resource that I have for kind of like passing the NCLEX. The next thing I did was actually form a game plan. Now, let me clarify that my version of a game plan is not this very detailed, long list of like, in this day I'm going to do this, or this week I'm going to do this. No, not really. I mean, my version of a game plan for this consisted of making sure that whenever my test date was, or whenever I was gonna set it, that I had enough time. So whether that's 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it was, like making sure I had enough time between now and then also then kind of figuring, and then once I knew how much time I had, then forming a game plan, which for me, and I'll get to what my game plan was here shortly, but knowing that time and really solidifying that kind of helps get you into a right mindset. So if you know I have 6 weeks and that's when I'm going to take this test, then that forces you to focus. Okay, I need to make things happen X number of time. I think where some students will get in trouble is when they don't set like a hard deadline. And so you could be like, well, I'll just, I'll take, a couple months from now, several weeks from now, or whatever. And you never quite really give yourself the deadline or the goal. And I think that's what's important, because like, I think once you set a date of when you're going to take the test, then that's when you can really get that SMART goal. So if you remember SMART goals, it's making sure that your goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and also timely as well, so time bound, and that time is a big key in terms of setting a good goal. The next thing after that, so I have a plan, and that was figuring out how I was actually going to study for this test. And for me, my lion's share of studying, which was 95% of what I did to study for this test, was due an absurd amount of practice questions. Like, it was non-stop practice questions over and over and over and over and over again. Break time during school, practice questions. When I was working, I had a break or downtime or whatever, practice questions. And so I just kept doing questions over and over and over and over again. I used an app, and there's so many of them out there. I'll put a link in the description below. You can go to nursemoneytalk.com/NCLEX. But there's a lot of these like NCLEX courses have apps, and the good ones, in my personal opinions, are the ones that are mobile friendly. They have a good app, or their website is definitely mobile friendly and very accessible through a mobile phone. And they have a lot of practice questions. They categorize their practice questions well, and then their rationales are really good. And that's what I ended up doing over and over and over again. And then I would take this test, and then I would then focus on the why was the answer correct. So I would ignore the wrong answers, because I found that kind of confuses me a little bit. So I just focus on what is the correct answer and the rationale for why that's the correct answer. So I answered this question, I put B, and it was actually C. I'm not interested on why B was wrong. The only thing I'm focused on is why was C correct. And so that's what I did repeatedly. Or good apps or good courses, you can usually then start seeing like you're answering these questions, right, in this category, or in this particular like field or whatnot. And so then I can start seeing like, okay, so, and honestly, once you do so many of these, like even without the program or the course telling you like where your strengths and weaknesses are, you can start seeing it. Like, once you do so many of them, like, you can start seeing, okay, I am really struggling in X, Y, and Z. And so that's really what I focused on. And I started, remember when I said like having that goal, I started with enough time and had a goal in mind that I was able to kind of space myself out and keep going. Because as I've said in another video, like, nursing school to me is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Even with the NCLEX, it is, if you think about it, it is also a marathon. I mean, it's like, you look at the NCLEX PN, 85 questions, max of 205. You have however many hours to take that test. And so you have to just constantly just be able to pace yourself and keep going over and over and over and over again, and then keep learning. Okay, I'm missing a lot of OB questions. Let me go and hammer that through. If there was actually a subject, or like there was a question that came up and then I missed that question, and the rationale just didn't quite click, then I would go back and look at using those other resources, remember that I mentioned, not the textbook, but the other resources that are geared specifically for the NCLEX, to then look up that particular subject and try to find more information. On the rarity when I really, like, there was just something, whether it piqued my interest or there was just something that I just was really wanting a lot of kind of background information on, then I would go back and actually reference one of those big backbreaking textbooks that we all had to buy. The next thing after all the questions that I did is, once I got to, I think it was 24 or 48 hours before the exam, I just stopped doing questions. At that point, it needs to be about kind of trying to de-escalate yourself. Like anxiety might start setting in. It's not even that it's a lot of questions, but the breadth of where they could pull all their materials from is so big that 24, 48 hours, if you don't know it then, it's probably not really, I mean, it's just not really going to make that much of a difference. I mean, I don't think it, anyway, I don't think it will. I don't think the difference that might make, I don't think would outweigh the benefits of just you being able to just kind of relax and kind of mentally get yourself in a good spot. Anyway, so that's what I would do leading up to the exam. You know, making sure that you get a good sleep. Definitely go to bed early. If you're the type of person, which I am, I don't fall asleep pretty quickly, went to bed extra early, laid there in bed for a little bit, but then went to sleep, woke up with plenty of time. And then the next thing after that, the getting to sleep part, is please set an alarm. Make sure you get up early enough to be able to get to the test spot on time. Make sure that you have already mapped out and you know where the test spot is beforehand. I drove to the area where we had the test, where we were gonna have the test at, for even the test day, just so I knew where I was going. Because I kid you not, very few things will probably stress you out more than waking up and realizing that you are running late. No, you do not want that. You want to wake up as very early. That's why you want to go to sleep very early. You want to wake up very early. You want to get yourself in that right mindset. And so you can then be leisurely going through. You know, you can then go eat breakfast if you're a breakfast person. If you're not a breakfast person, maybe grab like a light snack or whatever the case is. So then you can leisurely then make your way over to the exam. And then when you get there, take a deep sigh, do all your check-in or whatnot that you have to do. When you sit there, just remember, keep taking deep breaths, because that's what I did. I kept taking deep breaths in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And then as I got the questions, remember what I said, it is a marathon, not a sprint. I just took one question, one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. If there was a question, I was like, I didn't know. I don't know what this question is. I'm not sure. Remember, you go through your prioritization. You go through kind of like all these test taking skills that you'll learn. With a lot of these courses, kind of narrow it down. Pick the best one. Oh, I think that might be wrong. It's okay. I got 85 plus questions to go. There's plenty of time. Just keep going one at a time. And that's really, I mean, honestly, was for the most part what I did. I don't want to make this seem like it was easier said than done, because it is easier said than done. I think what I did have going for me was that I was able to take the NCLEX PN in the middle of RN school, so it was a little bit different in that respect. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions at all related to the NCLEX, or whether it's general, kind of more specific, just go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. The other thing I will mention though is that in these videos, one of the videos that you'll see that'll start showing up here shortly, I'm actually going to go through and actually review some NCLEX prep courses out there. I mean, especially you'll see some of the ones that I've taken, other students, other nursing students that I know have taken and have found really helpful. And then you'll kind of hear my take as well on them. You'll see that here shortly. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.